Can we start or wait for some time? Himanshu, can we start?
Yeah, just wait for 3 minutes. Student are joining.
Okay.
For those who joined, please share the meeting link with your unofficial groups and friends so they can also join. And we have certificates for you at the end. So please share the link. You can start, sir.
Okay, sure, I'll start. Is my screen visible? Can you see the screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Cool. Yes, sure. So myself, Param, as most of you might have known and have seen the heading of the today's discussion. So today we are just going through how to break the tutorial hell and just move on towards creating hackathon. So like how does an hackathon source work? What's end to end and how does everything look like? Okay. So this is the basic general idea that you could gain through in order to move from the beginners to how to master your own developmental skills as well as to become a good developer, use AI efficiently, and then move towards building something that's production ready or at least hackathon ready, and how to like build your PPTs more better. Got it? So, are you all comfortable with this, or should I move to Hindi or English, whatever you say? Can someone turn on their mic?
I think go
Mm,
with the Hindi plus English so everyone can understand and go with the flow there.
got it. I'll do so. Sure. So if किसी को भी कुछ भी doubt is, they can reach out to me directly on LinkedIn. I have shared my LinkedIn also. And in case if I don't connect with you or I ignore your message, I'll reply it by late night. So most of you can connect me over there. मेरा LinkedIn ID दिया हुआ है. And you can just type Param Gogia and you will get it. Okay. And in case you have any doubts, you can just reach out to me. Let's begin with today's discussion. So the major issue is सबको लगता है कि you can do everything, but you are not John Wick. That's the first thing that we can see. So a basic hackathon team requires three things. One is someone who knows front end to end, and second, the back end developer. So front end is mostly necessary because तुम लोग को क्या दिखाना है depends on what kind of UI that you're showing. अभी हर हैकाथॉन में सब हर कोई बना देता है फ्रंट एंड एवरीबॉडी नोस क्लाउड एवरीबॉडी नोस जीपी एंटी ग्रेविटी ओपस वी जीरो डॉट डेव देयर आर मल्टीपल वेबसाइट जिससे सब लोग फ्रंट एंड बना लेते हैं सो व्हाट डिस्टिंग्विशेस यू इज क्रिएटिंग समथिंग दैट कैचेस द जजेस आईज तो वो फ्रंट एंड बनाना और नॉर्मल फ्रंट एंड बनाना जीपीटी जेमिनी क्लाउड से वो अलग होता है इन ऑर्डर टू मेक समथिंग दैट स्टैंड्स आउट यू हैव टू put it such that it's visible and it's distinguishable ठीक है so that's the thing. And you cannot be a front end developer. So you cannot do everything on yourself. There has to be someone who knows how to do front end better. Got it? So this is one thing. Second is the back end developer. What does back end developer do? He creates an API. He knows what has to be shown. He knows the system architecture. So हर एक hackathon में front end और back end developer should know everything. Front end should know how does API come, and back end should know what API JSON response has to be sent. And database से क्या integrate करना है, क्या use करना है, AI किधर किधर use हुआ है, that the back end as well as front end guy should know. And the second is app developer, or like everybody should know AI. That's basic. सब लोग तो अभी खुद से कोड लिखते नहीं हो. So the basic hackathon requirement is segregation into these three terms, front end, back end, and if required, an app developer or an AI developer dedicatedly. So minimum three persons in a team are necessary. You cannot be like a full stack developer who does everything. Like it would be jack of all trades but master of none. So इसके लिए everybody should know how to use LLMs, and उसके बाद front end guys should know what has to be shown, backend guys should know what has to be given. Okay, so these are the two things that everybody must require. And as of now, most of you are switching towards app development. So apps are getting more popular. There are frameworks like React Native, Flutter, and I don't know, there are Android Kotlin based languages, but most of them have used React Native and Flutter. So these are prominently common in college students. So either master Flutter or master React Native. That's the main thing for developing an app in this time. And as you know, Flutter requires Dart and React Native can be done with JavaScript. So basic requirements shall be understood. And creating an app is not that difficult because सबके पास अभी क्लाउड है, सब कोई चैट जीपीटी कॉपी कर सकते हैं. बट कॉपी करना और इम्प्लीमेंट करने में थोड़ा फर्क होता है. So everybody must know how to use AI and where to use it. ठीक है? Anybody has doubt in this slide? Any questions as of now? किसी को कुछ भी डाउट है? Can raise hand or tell me. So I think hopefully everybody understood the division of roles for any hackathon. And before this, although you are segregated into three roles, the PPT should be created by each member of the team. Backend guys should explain the architecture well towards the front end guys, and everybody should collaborate together to create the PPT as well as system design. Okay, so that will come later, but everybody should know how to create the Canva PPT. That's a basic requirement. Abhi to. Awesome. Next, the core competencies. So like as you can see कि सबको सब कुछ आना चाहिए, वो तो requirement है ही, but you should know fundamentals. सबको सब कुछ नहीं आता. Already we have divided into three roles. उसमें everybody should know the basic working of how a web app or a website or app works. किसी को heavy जा रहा है ये, so like everybody knows basics of DOM front end working. Anybody has doubts what's API, what is front end and what is DOM? And कोई बोल सकता है, does everybody know how does front end work? You want to write in the chat box? I can see. Okay, let's move ahead. So basically, what are the core competencies that everybody needs is what's DOM, how does front end work, how does API work, and how does a backend integrate? Like the complete backend should be built of AI databases and everything. What is AI requirement over here? You will use LLMs, you will use Gemini API calls in order to integrate AI in your applications. So कोई भी तुम website पे code लिख रहे हो, your backend you're writing, so backend will be robust. It does not require APIs. Like it does not require involvement of AI at every stage. So how do you write an API? API लिखने के लिए basically you use Node, use Flask, Python का Flask API. You can use Django or any framework for creating web apps. For creating basic applications, you can create your own server. Node में लिखो या Python class में लिखो और उसको तुम front end या React Native से कॉल करते जाओ. So this is how everything works. So a website works like front end होता है written in React or anything, any front end framework, Angular, React, Vue, and then और even basic index page भी चल जाता है. फिर उसके बाद आता है APIs that you'll use to integrate with a front end page, and that API can be written in Node, they can be written in Flask, they can be written in Django, they can be written in multiple frameworks. So like these are the frameworks basically for writing backend. उसमें API को you will host somewhere on your local host or something. Once an API gets hosted, it will be connected to your backend database. If it requires a database, then the database should be like SQL, NoSQL, और अभी तो if you are using building something using RAG, तो vector DB store करने के लिए you can use vector storages that can be cockroach DB, or even if you are working with blockchain you can use couch DB, and then there is caching layer called Redis, and these are the basic databases that you can use. And उसके बाद you can integrate your API, and then at the end an AI can be incorporated in your application, be it LLM calls, it can be tool calling, it can be building AI agents, and for that creation of AI agents you will require LangGraph, LangGraph, or anything like that. And then it all comes down to GitHub. So what's GitHub and what's Git? It's basically version control of the entire workflow. So like The version control works like every time you commit a file, then your files are not being stored. I'm sorry, somebody just asked it out. So my doubt is that after we get selected for the last round, which is offline, pre-build कितना बना सकते हैं? कितना होगा? So basically pre-built and I mean, as per the hackathon policy, you're not allowed to build anything. But what can you do is you can create your front end. Front end, matlab you can how to create a dashboard. You can make all the required tools or components that are necessary for creating. You can create that at home, and then you just publish it to GitHub, and then you can use that source code during the hackathon. But every time you're going into hackathon, तो वहाँ पे you have to create a new repository. तो नया repository बना के जो front end लिखा था वो copy करो और फिर सारे teammates में दे दो, and then you can start creating backend or API जो वहाँ पे चाहिए. So I think front end covers most of the thing, but you should not create everything, but use libraries and your basic templates and front end का pages that you can create at home only. So ये बना के जा सकते हो. Other than this API लिखना और वो सब system architecture वहाँ पे डिजाइन करके बनाना होगा. That's necessary. क्योंकि काफी hackathons में आपका वो दिखते हैं कि व्हाट्सएप कमिट हिस्ट्री आपने स्टार्ट कब किया, किस किसने कंट्रीब्यूट किया एंड एवरीथिंग. ओके. और your opinion on Google Firebase for small hackathon based projects. So Firebase का इशू क्या है कि Firebase is अभी तो उनका कुछ रीड राइट का रिस्ट्रिक्शंस आ गया. 50,000 रीड्स एंड 20,000 राइट्स आर रिक्वायर्ड, लाइक उतना ही है. एंड सो एज लिमिटेशंस भी आ गया है. बट इफ इट्स अ स्मॉल हैकाथन प्रोजेक्ट इन Firebase is really good, and Firebase is an alternative for MongoDB. So MongoDB पे Compass भी यूज कर सकते हो, Firebase भी यूज कर सकते हो. It totally depends upon you. And if you're creating an application, तो app बनाने वाले तो Firebase is very good because MongoDB के Flutter और React Native में connections होते हैं उतने अच्छे नहीं होते हैं. Firebase integrates really fast with your Dart application. So for small hackathon projects, use MongoDB. But if you want to use an app, if you want to create an app, then use Firebase. That would be my opinion. Don't go directly for website to Firebase. Instead, use MongoDB. But if you're building an app, Firebase is the best one to incorporate everything across. How to use previous projects in hackathons and not get plagiarism for it. It's unethical to use previous projects in hackathon because most of the hackathon guys go through your GitHub repos. If not, then you can just like basic components auth का तो तुम बना के रखोगे एक hackathon में. तुम्हारे पास auth ready रहेगा, तुमको auth बनाना आता है तो उतना कोड कॉपी कर सकते हो. उसके बाद जो मेन फीचर्स रहेंगे तुमने कभी बनाया रहेगा, जैसे नोड मिलर कॉलिंग का फीचर या एआई के थ्रू कुछ चैटबॉट बनाया रहेगा, तो वो टाइप का बैक एंड सिर्फ कॉपी करके यूज कर सकते हो बिकॉज इट्स जस्ट यू आर यूजिंग द बैक एंड प्री एग्जिस्टिंग बैक एंड फ्रॉम सम अदर existing project. But at the end, it should not be like copied completely. And most of them do it like they declare plagiarism and they eliminate people. So I've seen in front of me that people are getting eliminated because they had used previous hackathon the complete projects. So instead, you should use your components that were built earlier and not complete everything. Cool. Any doubts? Going ahead. Then interactive design, because I know front end is everything right now because everybody looks at your front end, be it an app का front end, website का front end हो गया. Everybody looks at the design. कितना भी नहीं बोलो but front end पे ही बेचते हैं लोग. But your backend should be robust. छोटे छोटे hackathons में चल जाएगा, like normal college level hackathons में चल जाएगा. But if you're going for big hackathons, companies में होते हैं, they don't even care about your front end. They just know your backend should be working. Yeah, उधर भी front end काम आता है, but your backend should be robust. If you're participating in Meta के hackathons होते हैं, Google का Gemini hackathon था, and कोई भी ईथ का associated ईथ global का hackathon हो गया, या कोई भी कॉलेज से बड़ा लेवल का हैकाथॉन है, देयर दे लुक एट द रोबस्टनेस ऑफ द एप्लीकेशन. कितना एआई कब यूज हो रहा है, कितना डेप्थ में तुमको प्रोजेक्ट कर रहे हो, तुम्हारा सिस्टम आर्किटेक्चर कैसा है, तुम्हारे कितने एलएलएम कॉल्स हो रहे हैं, टोकन सेविंग कितना हो रहा है, एआई एजेंट्स काम कैसे कर रहे हैं. So everything is taken into consideration, even if you are using blockchain or using something cyber security. What is the scale of that thing? So that is matter. So like you should solve the problem, not create a problem. That is more important because प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करना बहुत कम को आता है. अभी सब एआई यूज करते हैं तो सबको बस जो जीपीटी देता है वही वही चिपका देते हैं. तो वैसा तो अभी नहीं चलता है बिकॉज यू शुड नो योर थिंग. ओके, moving ahead, we have found out I rely a lot on AI for ideas and code and hackathons. Do you think that's the right way for to use AI or better balance? You can just ideate. Initially the ideation, like you can ask Claude or ChatGPT to ideate on the problem statement, and once you get a proper ideation, and then you can figure out what are the things that are already existing or not in that idea. And once your idea is firm, then you start working on the project. Ask system design from AI, review it, build your own system workflow, what can be added, what cannot be added, think that yourself, and then ask AI for code. Like अभी दो तरीके से है, AI से कोड मंगाना मतलब मोस्ट ऑफ देम क्या करते हैं, वो उसको बोलते हैं प्रॉम्प्ट बना के दे, एंड वो प्रॉम्प्ट डालते हैं चैट जीपीटी या क्लाउड पे, और वो क्लाउड का लिमिट खत्म हो जाता है, आधा रिस्पॉन्स में खत्म, बोर हो जाते हैं, बंद कर देते हैं, दैट्स इट। I've seen a lot of guys like this. तो इसके लिए you should know what you're building। पहले एक फेस बनाओ बैकएंड का, बैकएंड बन जाने के बाद AI से बैकएंड बनवाना है तो बनाओ, but do not completely rely on it। So like most of them use एंटी ग्रेविटी हो गया, कोपायलट हो गया, यहाँ कोई बोलते कर्सर को बोल देते हैं कि ये मेरा प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट है, मेरे को बना के दे। वैसा नहीं चलता। तो यू शुड रिलाई ऑन एआई, बट यू शुड नो व्हाट यू आर डूइंग। कितना एआई से कॉपी करना है, दैट डिपेंड्स अपॉन यू। अगर बैकएंड क्रिएट करना है तो छोटा सा बैकएंड का इम्प्लीमेंटेशन एआई से कोड कॉपी करो, पेस्ट करो, रन करो, एरर्स आएंगे, एरर एआई में डालो या खुद से डिबग करो, फिर उसके बाद इम्प्लीमेंट इट अगेन। एंड वंस द रोबस्ट बैकएंड इज वर्किंग, देन मूव टू फ्रंट एंड, ठीक है। तो इंस्टेड ऑफ यूजिंग एआई कंप्लीटली बाइफरगेट इनटू पार्ट्स, एंड द थिंग्स कैन बी डन बाय योरसेल्फ, शैल बी डन बाय यू। और जो नहीं हो सकता है तुमसे, वो तुम एआई से दिखाओगे। ऑल्दो तुम लोग कोड तो बेटर करने के लिए एआई यूज कर रही हो, बट कितना यूज करना है, दैट डिपेंड्स अपॉन यू। And don't use, like, I would avoid using VS Code का Copilot completely and anti-gravity windsurf or that V0 का app and cursor. So don't rely on them and completely. You should just start by asking from AI and then implementing at smaller scale and then extending. That's the better approach. Do you think I should have fixed team for finding the right people are trying to? That is very important. Like the fixed team is very important. I have one team, and that team goes through every hackathon with me, so I know what kind of people I'm working. What does the person with me knows better. तो तीनों में से किसको क्या अच्छा आता है, उसके हिसाब से हम काम देने में इजी पड़ता है। So it is important to find the right team. I've seen people getting disintegrated because उनको टीम नहीं मिला। So people who can sing better, people who can think like you, people who are uh, similar to at sync with you or at par with your knowledge, then you can just ask them and keep the same team. How to divide the 24 to 48 hours for maximum impact? I mean, 24 to 48 आवर्स में मैक्सिमम इम्पैक्ट होने के लिए पहले तो तुमको आइडिया, पीएस तो एक रात पहले आता है। कोई भी हैकाथॉन में 12 घंटे पहले पीएस आता है। ऐसा तो कोई होता नहीं कि सुबह आके तुमको मिलता है। पीएस एलोकेशन और ऑलमोस्ट 12 आवर्स पहले होता है। टेक अ मीट, उसमें डिसाइड करो किसको क्या क्या करना है, ताकि एवरीबॉडी विल गेट द टास्क। सिस्टम डिजाइन आर्किटेक्चर कुछ डिसाइड करना है तो वो बना दो, बेसिक आइडियाज और वो फ्लो बता दो, एक दूसरे को क्या करना है। फ्रंट एंड हो सकता है तो फ्रंट एंड की कंपोनेंट डिसाइड कर लो और फ्रंट एंड का बेसिक्स बना के जाओ। एंड देन इफ यू गो टू द हैकाथॉन ओवर देयर, वहाँ पे लाइक फ्रंट एंड पूरा नहीं बना के जाना। यू शुड नो व्हाट कंपोनेंट्स आर बीइंग यूज्ड, यू शुड नो हाउ इट वर्क्स, एंड उसके बाद यू हैव टू स्टार्ट डेवलपिंग। डोंट वेस्ट योर टाइम on segregating the task at the D-Day. That can be done before. And that in that sense, then in next 24 और 48 आवर्स जितना भी लेंथ का हैकाथन रहेगा, डिवाइड द टास्क। पहले स्प्रिंट लिया करो, 6 आवर्स का स्प्रिंट लो, उसमें बेसिक बेसिक जो मेजर फीचर्स है उसका टास्क चेकलिस्ट बना दो, एंड यू जस्ट गिव इट टू ऑल द टीममेट्स। ये करेगा, ये करेगा, ये करेगा। 6 आवर्स के बाद हम लोग मिलकर देखते हैं क्या होता है। आफ्टर 6 आवर्स तुमको पता चल जाएगा कि तुम्हारा कितना बना है, कितना होने वाला है। एंड उसके बाद देन उसके अकॉर्डिंगली यू कैन जस्ट ऑल्टर द नंबर ऑफ फीचर्स दैट यू आर गोइंग टू बिल्ड। उसके बाद मेंटरिंग सेशन होता है, उसको पूछ लो कि हमारा इतना बना है, हमारा इतना नहीं बना, सो ही विल एडवाइस यू। एंड देन अकॉर्डिंगली हर 6 आवर्स में यू कैन टेक कॉल्स कि क्या करना है क्या नहीं करना। दैट कैन बी द बेस्ट अप्रोच। आई होप इट सॉल्व्स। Some people may like me rely on AI for some basic application based certain suggestions or some. Yeah, that's the thing. So like if you rely completely on AI, you will just forget things. That is very sure. But instead of like vibe coding completely, you can build something like छोटा API खुद से लिख के देखो, जो बेसिक फीचर है वो खुद से लिख के देखो। सेकेंडली वो भी नहीं हो रहा है तो देन यू कैन जस्ट मूव, लाइक लीड कोड तो करते ही रहोगे। लीड कोड पे तो यू शुड नो हाउ टू राइट द कोड, उसमें तुम डीएस सॉल्व करोगे तुमको तो कोड करना आ जाएगा उससे। बट अदर देन दिस रियल टाइम में अगर एआई इम्प्लीमेंटेशन को करना है, कोड अवॉइड करना है, तो लाइक स्टार्ट राइटिंग द बेसिक एपीआईज बाय योरसेल्फ। एंड फ्रंट एंड तो आई डोंट नो अभी कोई करता भी है। How to find USPs because everyone is there and they have same features. अच्छा USP, how also I do private repo for passing on this for academic नहीं, private repo won't be detected plagiarism, but I think most of them will follow same approach. Everybody knows how to use the same code and like सब chat GPT से सब क्लॉड से पूछो सबके पास सेम 3 LLMs ही है सबके पास सेम PS है. What your feature or what you can think is like the USPs can be building an app कोई बनाता नहीं है app is niche. uh, and other than this you can blockchain is very good field. I use blockchain. I almost do blockchain every time, and I use building apps with blockchain. So I would prefer someone goes for blockchain than this, but depends upon your will. Other than this, सबको आजकल AI चाहिए तो AI सबको AI चाहिए. Everybody knows how to use AI. सब LLM calls ही करते हैं end of the day. Instead of LLM calls, the USP can be to create AI agents. That is niche. Everybody can create an AI जो कुछ भी बना सकते हैं, but instead create a proper tool calling agent with memory based architecture that would be very, you can use LangChain, Langflow, or other libraries like that to create some good AI agents. But think of something that comes to your brain, not AI's brain. So you have seen, you must have, like I have covered in the PPT in the further slides, that in order to get ideas, you can just refer to that side. I'll better explain that. We constantly clear submission out is talking about, but we're not able to talk. See, basically the things that you are missing is maybe everybody might have displayed the same feature, or your pitching skills might not be that good. So somebody who's good at pitching explains all the concepts clearly and basically the real time demo. So I might think you might not be able to showcase your demo real time to the judges, and that judges might not sync with it. It can be like you can just create an application, show them in real time, or deploy an application and show them in real time. So if something is seen in real time, that makes more impact, as well as a clear pitch makes more impact. How to identify problems with that is highest chance of winning depends on the, like, there is no such problem statement that has highest chance of winning. Like Code Shastra had one without in the problem statement that I didn't even want, and nobody even wanted that problem statement. So I was getting bored. Like most of them were, that's basically luck and how you explain it and how the things are being made and how it features impresses that just at the real at that moment in time. So you cannot always identify a problem statement, but you can take the problem statement that you are confident enough. That's I don't think there is any problem statement that has highest chance of winning. It's very random. I think I've seen people getting confident in something that can be built very well, but instead they fucked up the things, and then the judges even didn't like that thing. So instead of doing that, you should focus on what features can be implemented, what are differently, and what you are confident in building. I mean, वो तो टीम के साथ डिस्कस करते करते you can figure out more ideas and not relying on AI, but real time reading things that are happening in the world. Okay, so this is the basic flow. I think everybody knows developmental phase क्या होता है, how to keep dividing tasks. And I think one branch with 100 pushes and constant syncing is better than GitHub than creating multiple branches. I have seen teams getting disqualified or not able to deliver the product because they had got multiple branches. Instead, you can just use one branch and do everything in that same GitHub ka branch. That is way more better than multiple branches, I think. If anybody might not agree, then they can open their mic and we can speak. And other than this, the basic stages of a hackathon is define the architecture, build the requirements, identify the tech stack, and just segregate the task. That's more important. Other than this, you must know how, like hackathon में तो कोई भी कुछ भी बना के फेंक के आता है. Instead, you should know how to deploy that project in real time. If you can use Vercel or if you have AWS or credentials, then yeah, free tier में थोड़ा you can host your backend on some uh, easy to instance. You can create it and use Amazon Aurora का IDS, or you can use Azure का workflows. GCP के credits आएंगे तो फिर तुम लोग you can deploy your backend on cloud. So like you can do stuff, but as at a beginner level, you should use Vercel, Netlify, and you should be aware of these things that are cloud hosting platforms that do it for you. So like खाली hackathon में कुछ भी बना के आने से, every time front end चिपका के आने से, और locally backend run करके दिखा दिया और judges खुश हो गए, इससे अच्छा you should know how things work in real time, how the deployment works, because that won't help you in long term, but instead the real thing that's actually working could be beneficial and can be added in your resume. So many questions so far. Cool. This is the slide I was talking. Like, don't use Copilot and don't overrun Copilots. Like, people are the completely relying on AI कि मेरा कोड में इशू आ रहा है सॉल्व करके दे दे, ऐसे तुम्हारे क्रेडिट्स ही उड़ने वाला है, पूरा हैकाथॉन में क्रेडिट्स निकल जाएगा. इनिशियली थोड़ा यूज कर सकते हो, लाइक फॉर फॉर्मुलेटिंग द बेसिक आइडियाज यू कैन यूज कोपायलट का भी. इफ यू हैव प्रीमियम सब्सक्रिप्शन तो क्लॉड सोनेट 4.5, क्लॉड ओपस 4.6 भी आ गए, तो वो यूज करके थोड़े क्रेडिट्स लगा के जस्ट फॉर्मुलेट एन आइडिया, पूरा प्रॉम्प्ट अच्छे से बनवाओ, देन गिव इट टू दैट एलएलएम एजेंट, दैट ही विल क्रिएट द बेसिक स्लाइड, go through that code, you understand what he's doing, and then you should move on to something else. Instead पूरा blindly उसको लिखते गए कि ये करके दे करके दे करके दे, तो फिर पूरा प्रोजेक्ट सत्यानाश हो जाएगा. So I would suggest कि don't use Copilot so often, but at the initial level, you should know what your code is doing. So you don't let LLMs to affect you. कि जैसे को क्लॉड या कोपायलट या मेरे को जिमिनाई जीपीटी बोल रहा है करने के लिए, वैसे वैसे नहीं करने का. हमें पता होना चाहिए क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं, क्या कॉपी कर रहा हूँ, क्या पेस्ट कर रहा हूँ, और उससे पता चलेगा कि तुम्हारे पास स्किल है कि नहीं. एंड जो हैकाथॉन जीतने के लिए स्किल चाहिए, लाइक यू शुड नो व्हाट यू आर डूइंग एटलीस्ट, rather than every time लाइक कुछ भी हो गया तो मैं क्लॉड को पूरा कोड कॉपी पेस्ट करके देता हूँ, फिर उसको बोलता हूँ फिक्स करके दे, और फिर वापस पेस्ट कर दूंगा. ऐसे फिर पूरा फीचर खराब हो जाता है और फिर खुद ही फंस जाते हो फीचर में. Instead you should use AI effectively. You should type prompt effectively. That is also more important. And don't type or give anything into AI if you can solve it by yourself. It just complicates things, but most of the time the basic approach will be try give the better prompt, generate a better prompt, discuss the idea. Once you have idea, conception, task, everything ready, give it to AI, give that proper prompt to AI, generate that prompt for me sometimes, कभी Gemini को prompt generate, and then try ask them to build everything, and then you can use Claude Opus 4.6. That can be a good model to build something in VS Code, and then just go through your code once before doing anything. Or else if you can't do it, then ask AI to explain the code at least. Yeah, that's thing, like you should not rely on them and don't let them use you, but instead should know what you're doing, what your stuff is. Yeah, so there is much more deeper thing than hackathons. Like you should pick up your niche. So I've seen people doing front end, people doing back end at the same time. DevOps भी वही कर रहे हैं. DevOps तो दूर की बात है, hackathon में DevOps तो कोई करता भी नहीं आजकल. किसी को डॉकर कंटेनर रन आता नहीं है अच्छे से. और चलो वो तो दूर की बात है. लाइक हैकाथॉन बेस्ड प्रोजेक्ट में everybody is creating a simple things. Instead you should pick up one niche thing that can be done. It can be a AI, creating AI agents, blockchain if you are interested only, then you try blockchain. Other than that you can explore DevOps, how does CI/CD pipeline works. That would be helpful in your pitch on cloud specializations. कर लो. Certifications, I hate certifications. I don't recommend people doing that dumb certifications like Coursera कर दिया, वो कर दिया, First Learning, this Angela you कर दिया. It's just I don't resonate with it, but people might not agree with me, but I think certifications are done. Other than this, you should pick up one skill that you should learn. That skill is helpful. Other than doing everything, you should know how basically things work at the core level. Then creating very crazy things. Like I created 10 AI agents doing this and that thing. अदर देन दिस, तुम लोगों को कुछ पता नहीं कोड में क्या हो रहा है, बस खाली चैट जीपीटी और प्रॉम्प्ट के भरोसे बैठे हो. So that's not. You should know what the code has done and what feature have you implemented, how have you implemented, and that can come if you know only one skill perfectly, rather than knowing everything very good. You should know basics of stuff, but not like सब कुछ आता है वैसे तो हो नहीं सकता. You should have one niche thing, and that would come from experience. Okay, one question. Do you think every team member should speak while presenting? I mean, yeah, मतलब जिसके बोलने से जजेस गुस्सा हो जाएं या क्वेश्चन करे उसको चुप करवाना बेटर है. और the one who has created the backend, the one who is public speaker, the one who can communicate the ideas can speak, and I think the one who has created the backend is confident enough to speak. एंड ऐसा नहीं कि अगर वो पब्लिक स्पीकर नहीं है या मतलब बोल नहीं पाता है, दैट कम्स विद एक्सपीरियंस ऑब्वियसली, बट everybody should say something during the pitch. That is important. but you should know when to speak, how to speak, and how much to speak. ये थोड़ा क्लियर करके जाना चाहिए before going to the stage. At the end of hackathon, why? What are the most important questions that I should ask to judges so that they should know where am I lacking, what improvements can be made? See, अगर जजेस खुद से इंटरेस्टेड रहेंगे तो they themselves will ask the questions before midway or end में. They will definitely ask the questions if they are interested. अगर वो लोग इंटरेस्टेड नहीं रहते हैं तो you should definitely go and ask them कि did you like this feature or what can be implemented in this. नहीं, वो नहीं पूछने का कि directly नहीं पूछने का what can be implemented. Just go and ask them कि is this nice, or like did you like the approach that I have followed. It can be is it scalable or not, and then you should go कि what things can be improved. सीधा पूछ लिया कि क्या करा हुआ है इसमें तो सीधा नुकसान निकालना शुरू कर देगा. Is it clear? I think initially go with like basic questions and then explain more about your projects, how it can be scaled with your approach. And if your approach is incorrect, ask a suggestion, not why it is incorrect. If any member of a team create full project, then can he be able to do full pitch? होता है, like there are teams where I have seen कि एक लड़के या किसी ने बनाया था प्रोजेक्ट एंड उसको बोलने नहीं आता था, so he ruined the entire pitch. That also has happened. So like I think the one team member who knows the full project shall not do the full pitch. At least you should explain it to someone else and both of you should carry. And when questions are being asked, they should be able to respond well, but that doesn't fit well. That might lack. Like judges also do take into consideration that everybody has speaker or not, everybody knows about the idea, and the pitch was in the correct flow or not. Because and may they don't remember each and everything, they just see कि pitch कैसा गया, what features they were able to explain now. Even at this point, if there are two groups, one knows how to create the required project and other knows how to basic backend. They use AI for front-end UI and features. But that makes some difference. And yeah, that happens. We don't get like copy paste event time best. Yeah, that depends. अभी वो तो अभी क्या ही कर सकते हैं. Like there are people who do this, but कुछ ऐसे फीचर्स हो सकते हैं और रियल टाइम डेमो अगर देना रहेगा that can be showcased in front of judges, और ऐसे फीचर जो किसी ने इम्प्लीमेंट नहीं किए रहेंगे in real time, अगर वो डेमो देख के जजेस खुश होते हैं तो they won't listen to this copy paste वाला projects, because अभी तो like सब अभी सब खराब ही हो गया because everybody is using Opus 4.6 and the anti-gravity और cursor के Pro version to build everything. But you should know basic backend in such a way that you are able to showcase it well as well. That is more important. Moving on, I'll share some platforms. So Devfolio, Unstop, Discord, DevPost. These are the basic platforms where you can find hackathons. And अनस्टॉप पे तो बहुत सारे होते हैं आजकल, और डेफोलियो का थोड़ा रेयर है बिकॉज डेफोलियो में हैकाथॉन्स आर लाइक एंट्री कम मिलती है बिकॉज वो रेट 300 का इवेंट होता है. अनस्टॉप पे यू विल फाइंड अ लॉट ऑफ इवेंट्स. हैक स्किल इज फॉर बिग कंपनीज वाले इवेंट्स लाइक मेटा का, जेमिनाई का, या कोई भी गूगल क्लाउड एआई का ऐसे का जो इवेंट था, एवरीथिंग हैक टेक्स प्लेस बाय हैक एंड दोस हैकाथॉन्स आर लाइक बहुत ज़्यादा लोग होते हैं उसमें. तो आई थिंक यू शुड अवॉइड दैट बिगिनर स्टेज हैकाथॉन्स. Discord page, there are some events and their post where online hackathons are there, but their post is not credible. Dorax is only for blockchain. If somebody is interested in blockchain capital bounties, go for Dorax. Past projects like yeah, this is very important. So you were saying like how to create the difference. Everybody copies from here. You can just refer to multiple past projects. LinkedIn पे बहुत सारे लोग अपना hackathon का 50 डालते हैं, तो वो time पे you can see what did they do. And other than this, communities like Global, they just put everything on uh, their past projects का एक उनका dedicated page है, so you can go through those. LinkedIn पे you get to know what people are building, how did they build. Somebody doesn't share it, so you can just go to the GitHub repo or be polite enough to reach out to them and ask them about the project, and can they discuss the idea or share it. And then industry, so like industry experts का lecture होता है and the sponsors का खुद का, you can just visit to them and ask them how to build the projects. Industry, like when you go to some companies hackathon, there are engineers who have built it, and you can just refer to them and just spend some time with them. There you will get to know more about what to build, how to build, and where to build. Then there are special stuff, so like bug bounty program, niche hackathon, sponsored hackathons. Those are And if you're a beginner and you want to participate, then you should go for front-end hackathons. If you don't have any idea how to create stuff from beginning, then just go to front-end hackathons or SQL competition. That would be really helpful. Then try to move it, like the second year or first year folks can start with these, and the third year folks can definitely look for these hacks, sponsored hacks and bug bounty programs. Very important is like explain correctly, explain concisely, and devise something that you can just before you speak anything, you should know what you're speaking, and this is very important. Explain correctly and concisely. If you're not able to explain something very perfectly, then it will just create another boredom for the judges, and they'll just ignore your pitch. That's the harsh truth. So that's very important how you explain stuff. So, like you have created your worked out 2 hours, you have worked half. Like if you have worked even for 10 hours, then your pitch will be that good. I might not know the amount of greatness that would be in your pitch, but I have seen that people don't even wait for 2 hours and then they just win hackathons by their pitches. So that is very important. Like you should explain it correctly. I've got few questions. If there is no PS given only themes, then what should I choose? Healthcare, blockchain, cybersecurity? Yeah, no. Depends. Like most of them ignore blockchain अभी तो. Like if you are in a common hackathon, उसमें तो cyber security लिखा रहेगा, healthcare और AI में लिखा रहेगा. Healthcare is very common. That healthcare में अगर if you have good experience, you can just demonstrate research papers or something credible to your work. Then you should go with healthcare. AIML is again very vaguely discussed topic, so everybody might not sync with AIML. Everybody incorporates AI because बिना AI कुछ होता नहीं है. So every project you will see some Gemini API calls happening. Cybersecurity is very niche. So if there's no PS, what thing should be chosen? I would prefer to go with good type of cybersecurity or AIML projects and then move to healthcare. And if blockchain, then if you are interested and if you know, then blockchain. Without knowing, just don't dive into blockchain. At least you should know the basics. Healthcare ka, I doubt if you are creating something very good, then go for it. In my first year, I have seen most of the hackathon shortlisting based on PPT, how to make PPT, which I prefer to pass PPTs, I would say. I what kind of PPTs did people make before those who got into hackathon, and your PPT should be concise. Your PPT should explain the idea, system architecture, tech stack that you will be using. उसमें if possible you can generate a front end and then show it like admin थोड़ा सा photo डाल दो उसका. It's very basic. Like these are the things that everybody does to get shortlisted. I guess अभी तो थोड़ा ज़्यादा ही बढ़ गया. So everybody like कुछ भी front end का demo बना के डाल देते हैं to impress. And उसके बाद there is one other thing कि कुछ hackathons में they look at your resume and your past projects and your GitHub. If that's a good hackathon, they would definitely look at the problem statement that you choose. What's your experience and how long have you been building? Other than this, your basically PPT should include what are the basic features that you're going to implement, how are they different, what's the tech stack you're using, how niche is the tech stack, and what's the system architecture, how your system architecture works, and then basic benefits, pros, cons, scalability if necessary, and then at the end, screenshot or a video link if required. And उसके बाद I think they require resumes also as well. This is the basic challenges that I've shown. Yeah, of course, when you have a computer science degree, doesn't mean that you're a computer scientist. Yeah, Abhi, other than hackathons, most important is you won't be doing hackathons for every day. You have to join some industry, you have to grow industry as well. There are few opportunities listed over here. I think most of you know, everybody knows what an SD backend front-end developer does. These AI internships are getting popular, and then you can try open source program. GSOC, LFX, ये सब होता है. और Bitcoin समर कोड भी होता है. You can explore them. App developers are required. Like आजकल everybody requires Flutter, Android developers, and iOS developers. So app dev is not dying field anytime soon. And everybody knows AI will take my job. AI will take our कुछ ही होगा. I don't care. Like अभी if you are totally dependent on AI or your job is dependent on AI, then your AI will take your job. But if AI cannot write the cleaner code than you and AI doesn't know how to implement it at scale, then no way I can take the job. Other than this, there are blockchain developers like Devrels. They are paid really well, and smart contract developers. So they are being paid more than SDs, but that's very niche, and I think in India it's not very popular. Other than this, there is cloud infrastructure. Like I think you should require some certification, like not basic certifications. Cloud infrastructure के लिए you should know that AWS का and GCP का certifications that are done by that are given by AWS and Google. So that are not basic certifications, but that are very important and they are valid for 4 to 5 years. So if you are interested in cloud infrastructure, then you can go with these. Network engineering, so like yeah, network administrator and DBA network manager, they are paid really well. So I think that's very niche field. System security and cloud, like system security and cloud security के लिए you should know, like थोड़ा it's more like cyber security but incorporated with use of cloud in real time because it costs a lot of money. So like they need cloud expert and cloud security services. That cannot hamper them at any time. And DSA करते रहो because कितने भी हैकाथॉन्स कर लो विदाउट डीएसए कोई कंपनी इंडिया में लेता नहीं है. एवरीबॉडी एट द एंड एनी प्रोडक्ट कंपनी वुड रिक्वायर डीएसए. It might be a dying field but everybody should do डीएसए आई वुड से. लाइक कितना भी हैकाथॉन्स कर लो इंटरव्यू में तुमको डीएसए ही पूछने वाले स्टार्टिंग. Yeah, this is very subjective or niche. If anybody wants or is interested in blockchain, then blockchain and cybersecurity are very growing field in not in Indian markets but other markets. And there are bug bounty program. If anybody wants to reach out or connect later, then we can do it for blockchain. But it really helps, and it's a very niche field. People think it's not a cup of tea, but it's once you know everything, then you can do it very well. Basically, it's nothing but creating something that is decentralized and it can be accessed by anyone. So that is, I think that's from my side. Most of the stuff are covered from my side. And other than this, I'm open to questions. Anything that's there. And if you want, I think they will provide you the slides on the PPT. Uh, we're back to questions. If anybody has any questions, then you can just share it. Does hackathons matter in interviews or placements? Like does it boost your resume? Yeah, I boost. Obviously. Like someone who has done only DSA and doesn't know how the system design work, how everything works in real time, they are not considered. And number of hackathon wins, I won't agree to that because 15 hackathon जीत जाओ 40 hackathon जीत जाओ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. As long as you're not able to speak, they won't give a bunch. But it just boosts your resume. For blockchain, do you use things like what you Solana or ETH? Solana or ETH doesn't care. You should know what you're building. It's private or public. अगर तुम public chain use करने वाले हो तो you should know Solidity and उसको you can use in the remix ID and everything and you can use some credits from Ethipolia. Try building on that. Again, we can connect it later. You can just reach out to me for that. When I was building front end, I asked people guidance to just say use the app without really explaining how it's also connected from you. That's a good question. So like हाँ सब बोलते हैं React कर लो because React is very JavaScript based है. It is very good or easy enough to integrate AI और backend का API calls तुम लोग Axios के जल्दी integrate कर सकते हो. इसके लिए they are telling you to use React. तो आइडियली अभी क्या होता है Next.js यूज करते लोग. So Next.js क्या होता है पूरा कंसोलिडेटेड होता है जिसके अंदर सर्वर साइड रेंडरिंग हो रहा होता है एंड कोई जो एजेंट्स होते हैं V0 या ये अपने आप Next.js में ऐप बना के देते हैं एंड उसमें it's very easy to incorporate it but you cannot tweak everything, so everything is not Next.js compatible. So that is the trade-off. If you're a beginner, then you should know how to use React. Basic backend Axios integrate करना कोई भी एक backend का endpoint तुम लोग API endpoint से होगे, you can host it somewhere or even on your local host and then you can integrate with your apps using Axios. This is the ideal approach and उसका जो response आता है तुम्हारे UI पे उसको render करना properly आना चाहिए. तो basically यही होता है कि that I think that's very basic workflow. You should first build the perfect, decide what have to build, perfect backend should be built, and then test your APIs. By side by side, you can build that front end using React if you're a beginner, and if you're a pro and you know how to use Next.js, then you can build your app side by side using Next.js. And if someone can build on creating API pages and then incorporate with the front end side by side, that can be done. But in Next.js, should know how to integrate databases. There is something like Supabase and everything. Open source available. You can use that. Should I use AI? Definitely, you can use AI, but don't let AI use you. You should know what you're building. What aim should I have at the start of hackathons? Like deliver MVP, solve the problem. Like what should I envision? See, yeah, in any hackathon, you have to deliver the solution of the problem. That is very important, and that itself is your MVP. What is an MVP? Is something that solves the PS that's available. It can be a basic normal वाला PS भी हो सकता है ऐप वेबसाइट या LLM या कुछ ट्रैक चैटबॉट बना के तो वो भी एक MVP होगा तो you should build that and then तो तुम्हारा मेन फीचर्स इसके ऊपर पॉइंट होता है अभी अभी हैकाथॉन हैज 5 पॉइंट का फीचर्स उसमें 3 और 4 थिंग्स आर कोरली रिक्वायर्ड बिकॉज if they are not present in your product they'll reject it definitely so you should build that once it is built and then you have to start building something to complementary to that feature such that your MVP is satisfied. Your basic aim should be to deliver something that is mentioned in the PS because the PS में जो points रहेगी उसके हिसाब से ही they will qualify for round one otherwise they will reject from round one. Any Ngrok alternatives use static URL for terminal. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll discuss with it. Ngrok का मेरे पास बहुत मस्त उसका alternates है. I'll discuss with you later. Whenever I participate in hackathons, I sometimes don't get selected or when I try to learn from selected participant beginner like me often don't know chance to play the contest. Also, it make difficult to understand why I went wrong or I missed. So, see, hackathon में selection is where depends on your PPT और जो select सामने वाली committee select करने वाली उस पे तुम्हारा resume भी देख सकते हैं that totally depends on this. So वो तो अभी सबका लकी होता है but उसके बाद तुम्हारा PPT अच्छा होना चाहिए that's it. That is very important और तुम लोग को मैंने पहले ही बताया था कि PPT में क्या क्या होना चाहिए. Other than this, when you get selected, like if you're beginner, you don't get clear guidance. Yeah, because वहाँ पे competition रहता है थोड़ा आजकल मैंने देखा है क्या करा people are very competitive. वो लोग तुम लोग को बताते कुछ है करते कुछ और है लेते कुछ और है. So this is the basic गंदा human nature that can be seen during that competition. Rather than reaching to the people there, you should just reach out to someone who is already experienced, who knows the stuff well. They can guide you from basics. Like it can be seniors who already who are like students or your seniors. So you should just focus on them and ask them how to build something from scratch and then उससे पता चलता है कि like basic MVP बनाना वो तो तुम कर सकते हो अभी AI बहुत easy कर देता है you will have the basic flow structure ready उसके बाद you can add agents add workflows whatever you want then can be done so but at least you should know how to create a basic application be it web app application or basic mobile app and then like if you are specifically interested in creating some AI agents or chatbots or something that is AI in the solution, I have good folks that I can connect you with. Should I focus on quality of features and the quality of features? Quality. Quality is very important in quantity, obviously, because a website with 20 features doesn't get selected if there is no feature that is impressive enough. Quality is important. I'm not able to find good ideas. It is usually having how do I approach a good solution for any players? सी कोड आइडिया से लाइक तुम लोग को पहले तो देखना पड़ेगा क्या चल रहा है मार्केट में व्हाई व्हाट आर थिंग्स दैट आर रियली इंपॉर्टेंट और पॉपुलर सबको अभी एलएलएम डालना आता है रेट अभी इट डिपेंड्स ऑन द पीएस you should how do I approach the PS is like you just read out what's the MVP, what are basic requirements, what तुम लोग को बनाना ही है that can be figured out using AI. Other than this, the good ideas can be like you should know the stuff that's going on, what is trending right now in the market, and uh, where could AI agents or something like this that is very niche can be incorporated over there, and some tools that are not already there can be useful or not. In this way, Like you will be able to figure out what's unique and niche. So like basically market research, new tools, and things that are not common can help you figure out what kind of features can be incorporated. And that's a really good approach that can be useful. Other than just AI सर्विस करते हैं सबको सेम रिस्पॉन्स आता है. I mean nothing is dumb. Everybody was dumb at some stage. और these type of questions मेरे को भी आए हैं भाई बहुत पूछने का बिंदास पूछने का but ask to the right people that is very important. And I might have already picked up and we see there is something that is like you're interested in doing or something that will be very essential. Like, that is that gives you something really the motivation of what you're doing. So, अगर game dev बना है तो you should speak to someone who has already been a game dev. You should share your experience with game developer. Like explore karna is not bad, but if you want to pursue something as a career, then you should know the experts, get their advice, and move ahead. App dev के लिए भी like app dev is depends on what your end goal is. So like if you want to go into research, then these fields are not useful at all. But if you want to be an app developer, game developer, cybersecurity engineer, you should just speak to their experts, somebody who is good enough in that. And then if you don't find their answer satisfactory or you're not interested in that field, then just move on and keep exploring new stuff. But getting something that really kicks you well is, I think, really important of finding out. क्योंकि आजकल सब हर 4 में से 1 इंजीनियर है, सबको एआई यूज़ करना आता है. That's harsh. While pitching is it good to into some humor or joke? भाई joke. हाँ मतलब you can introduce some humor and joke, but in the context of the product that you're pitching, and it should not exceed too much. It should be within the contextual limits, and so that you can resonate with the judges and not just embarrass them or embarrass yourself in front of them. I've seen somebody doing this thing and failed it miserably. But other than this, if your product is really nice and you can add some humor of it, then it will be helpful. Any questions other than this? I think most of you might have already been. I'm in FY too excited for Hackathon, but don't even be so. Knowledge is the source of finding the good books. But other than this, you can look out to your seniors who are already like most of them are figuring out to finding a team at the end of the day. You can just reach out to your college friends or seniors, and then if you resonate with their energy, and then move ahead. Other than this, someone who knows one skill better, and you think that you can cling up to him and he'll let me win the hackathon or she'll let me win the hackathon, that won't work. Everybody should know basically everything. Like we should be aware what does he or she knows or he or she is better at, and who's able to communicate well rather than boasting himself or herself. Anything else? Also, if you all have shared the request on LinkedIn on weekends, I'll just reply it or by night. And in case there are any questions, like you can ask it now. I have 1 or 2 minutes, and then we can just connect on LinkedIn.
If anyone have a
Hopefully,
question,
that
then please feel free to ask.
question is from ChatGPT. I think. How do you decide what to build and we know what to basically build all the things that are said in the PS. In the PS, there are MVPs or top 5 things that has to be built. You have to build that, and what to ignore is something that is not in your domain. Like the things like creating some crazy dashboard or communication to like side by side marketplace or something, that things can be easily ignored. Target like every hackathon PS has 3 or 4 MVPs that can be built by you and that has to be built by you. उसके बाद creating community marketplace governance thing or some voting protocols that can be acted as an add-on और कुछ feature जो बन ही नहीं सकता like using sponsors का products that can be ignored at all because no sponsor cares at the end. If they are specifically mentioned, they have mentioned to use that sponsor का product, then you have to use it, else ignore them. Who's, I think anything else? Hopefully, I have not bored you. In case you do require anything, you can reach out to me and then I connect with you.
If anyone have a question, then please ask. We are open to Q&A. And even if you want to add on some points and share your a little bit experience, then yes, you are free. Okay, I think किसी को doubt नहीं है. If everything is clear, then please raise your hands. Okay, so I think everything is fine, and thank you, Param, sir, for sharing your experience and guiding us for the hackathon.
Only to call me sir as such, but thank you, Imanshu, for inviting me, and thank you everyone for being so attentive and anything that comes up, should be and answering one last question. Any good tips for good front end? Good front end requires someone who has the idea of what he's building and what has to be showcased, and rather than not completely relying on b0.dev or Cloud for developing something, but instead pick something niche that's already available in the market or some good tools that are already coming up using it. And you should know what to show or what to not. I think this time we can just conclude this time. Thank you so much everyone for being so attentive and asking me doubts. And you can reach out to me on number or connect with the team.
Okay, so guys, please DM us on WhatsApp. I shared a number, and DM with your full name for your certificates. एंड बेसिकली ये जो कम्युनिटी है जिसकी तरफ से ये सेशन होस्ट हुआ था, सो वी आर नॉट अ कम्युनिस्ट टाइप अ कम्युनिटी और द कोर्स सेलिंग टाइप company or startup or anything else. So we just host a meeting for guidance at tier 3 or tier 2 or anyone who want a guidance for free. And yes, it is open community, so you can contribute, you can teach, you can guide, and reach out to us by joining our community. So Param sir, can you just share the last page of a PPT if possible? Okay. And as a lot of students from you are just confused between the choosing fields and exploring fields, so yes, we host a lot of events and lot of guidance session from the experts and alumni from the community and fields, and we try to cover all the domains and all the fields, so you can explore by sitting in your house, and you can choose what you want to do in your future. So yes, our future plans are a lot, so please contribute. And yeah, join the community by scanning the scanner, so you can connect with us, and share the links with your friends so they can also join. एंड वी एंड जिन्होंने लेट ज्वाइन किया है, डोंट वरी, हम लोग शेयर कर देंगे इसका जो रिकॉर्डेड सेशन था उसकी लिंक कम्युनिटी पे, सो यू कैन सी फ्रॉम देयर.
ऑल्सो आई ऐड वन डिस्क्लेमर कि किसी को टारगेट करते नहीं था, कोई भी कमिटी या किसी भी इंसान के अगेंस्ट मैंने कुछ नहीं बोला. दिस इज ओनली फॉर गाइडेंस पर्पसेस. डू नॉट टेक इट टू योर हार्ट और डू नॉट